Welcome to Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. This is the locker room of the all-time Dallas Cowboys, led by their quarterback from Navy, Roger Staubach. He faces Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers in their heralded tradition. Roethlisberger took over the reins of the Steelers in Week 2 of the 2004 season, and he never looked back ever since that point, winning 2 Super Bowls during his time with the Steelers, cementing himself as one of the greatest to ever throw the football in the Steel City. On the other end of the equation for the Dallas Cowboys, Emmitt Smith made his staple in the 90s with the Cowboys, the all-time leading rusher in league history. Bob Hayes, the only athlete to win an Olympic gold medal and a Super Bowl. The stars of the Cowboys invade Indianapolis for a chance to complete their dream of destiny. The Steelers hoping for a rarefied Dream Bowl three-peat. The Cowboys, the Steelers, the best of each franchise colliding for a shot at a title. The kickoff of Dream Bowl 8 is next.
Pittsburgh, PA. The blue-collar city is black and yellow, both immaculate and terrible. From the steel curtain to the catch. It's always been about winning. One move. These are the Steelers. In Dallas, good guys wear a star. From Landry's doomsday defense to the triplets creating a dynasty of their own. Like Captain Comeback, they play as heroes. These are the Cowboys.
Evening has set here in Indianapolis, but the story is about to begin in Dream Bowl 8. Well, a pleasure it is to bring you the Dallas Cowboys, 5-time Super Bowl champions. From the 70s and 80s, they faced the Pittsburgh Steelers, 6-time Super Bowl champions. These teams have met 3 times in the Super Bowl. They meet again in the Dream Bowl. The Steelers, the Cowboys, in Dream Bowl 8. DeBock alongside Fochesato. We are honored to bring you Dream Bowl 8 this evening. Antonio Brown, from his own end zone, takes his kickoff all the way out to the 20. That brings onto the field for the Pittsburgh Steelers from Miami of Ohio, Ben Roethlisberger, a 2-time Super Bowl champion for the Steelers. Many remember his comeback drive against the Arizona Cardinals, resulting in the Steelers' 6th Super Bowl championship in their history. As the Steelers began on offense, a playoff run that was nothing short of resurgent. As Roethlisberger looks over the grid. Ben Roethlisberger's pass is incomplete. Broken up at the last moment by Darren Woodson. A look at the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, led by Franco Harris and John Stallworth, 2 of Terry Bradshaw's favorite targets, but also current stars. Antonio Brown and Heath Miller also a part of that mix for the Steelers as they begin their opening drive of the Dream Bowl with Ben Roethlisberger working out of the shotgun. Brown goes in motion. Here's Roethlisberger to throw, and instead he looks to run, and he's taken down in the backfield by Randy White, Super Bowl 12 MVP. A look at the Cowboys defense. Chuck Howley, Randy White, who also was in on the sack earlier, DeMarcus Ware on the outside, Deion Sanders and Mel Renfro on the secondary. So many stars to highlight on both rosters. A true talent display. And a 3rd and 10 upcoming for the Steelers as Roethlisberger works out of the shotgun. Le'Veon Bell to his left as Roethlisberger looks to throw. Quick pass caught. John Stallworth extends for a first down. And Connor, a 3rd down conversion is a great way to set the tone.
Absolutely. What a great way to start this game. Roethlisberger almost first play, and he had to step up into the pocket. So this time, they're going to set up a little curl route, something off of the outside, quick for him to release that pass, and Stallworth was right open.
Everson Walls had the coverage for the Cowboys. But a new set of downs for the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger this time works under center and looks to throw. Roethlisberger sets up, and he throws one out of bounds in the direction of head coach Chuck Noll. And speaking of Chuck Noll, there is the patriarch for the Steelers. Took over for Pittsburgh in the year 1969. The Steelers went 1-13. And Noll, ever since then, would go on to win 4 Super Bowls in the 70s. Quite the legacy left by Chuck Noll with the Steelers as Roethlisberger works out of the shotgun as he scans the pocket and throws towards the sideline, and the pass is incomplete. Chuck Noll won 2 Super Bowls against this man, Tom Landry, who won 2 of his own. And when you talk about the Dallas Cowboys in the first years of their existence, first 29, it begins and ends with that man that always wore that top hat.
Absolutely. And Tom Landry, you could argue, is the boy of all time, considering that he coached for almost 30 years, more than a quarter of a century, and brought that slant so many times.
Here's Roethlisberger on 3rd and 10. He finds Le'Veon Bell, who skitters out of bounds, short of the first down marker. And that brings on the punting unit for Pittsburgh. Steelers punter is another look at the replay of Bell heading out of bounds. Nothing truly open, so Connor, sometimes in cases like that, key to make the right decision as opposed to making a careless one.
Well, you just got to make that really quick decision, and if you dump it off, blocks end up going somewhere, and at that point they didn't.
Here's Deion Sanders on the return for the Cowboys. The ball is loose. It's recovered by Andy Russell, and Andy Russell is down inside the 5 and in the end zone. Touchdown Steelers. Wow.
And who would have thought, Danny, that the first touchdown of the game for the Pittsburgh off of the defensive special teams, and Deion Sanders, who's got a lot of pride in him, wants to make that big return, so he's probably not going to waive fair catch. Well, he was hit right there, dropped the ball. Steelers up by.
Extra point from Sean Sweezum is good. Andy Russell with the scoop and score for the Steelers, a part of Chuck Noll's incredible teams. Missed the first part of his career because he was in the military, and in the end, he won 2 Super Bowls. Andy Russell with the scoop and score off the fumble from Deion Sanders. And if there's ever a way to start a Dream Bowl, well, that's one of them. Deion Sanders, after the fumble, gets to return the football past the 20 and all the way to the 22. So we get to see our introduction a little bit delayed because of what happened with Roger Staubach and company. But Deion Sanders, not a good start to the Dream Bowl. He's injured, and he's being taken on a cart. That's not good. Well, look at the replay of it.
You could argue that his body is just so physically beat up. In the NFC Championship game, he was playing hard on both sides of the ball, both for Dallas and San Francisco.
Part of both rosters, indeed. Emmitt Smith, his first call, this time yields 5 yards. Sets up 2nd and 4 on the way for Dallas.
Well, if you're going to hand the ball off on Emmitt Smith, it might as well be first down because he's going to get those blocks, get a couple yards with how good he is, and then you can have a tier.
DeBock lunges, out of bounds, incomplete. 3rd and 4 on the way. Drew Pearson was the intended target, which brings up now a case for the Cowboys. They gave up the scoop and score thanks to Andy Russell with the recovery off the fumbled punt return from Deion Sanders. On 3rd down, Staubach goes deep, and the pass is incomplete. Rod Woodson had the coverage, and that forces Dallas to punt.
Well, it's not. You see Roger Staubach, one of the most clutch quarterbacks the league has ever seen, overshoot receive times in a row. But, this is the Dream Bowl for him. The best all-time rosters going up against one another. You could argue that there's added pressure on him in this particular game as they go get ready to punt.
Matt McBriar sends it away to Antonio Brown. And he heads right side, and he's wrapped up in the end. But look at the AFC Championship between the Steelers and the Raiders, and the turning point of the game was near the end of the third quarter. Troy Polamalu intercepts a Kenny Stabler pass, and he did the rest, showing off his speed. Pittsburgh with a 30-10 win over the Raiders, and it was a game that was still in doubt heading into the third quarter, but Pittsburgh, with that interception return from Polamalu, really put that game away. On first down, Roethlisberger, a quick pass caught by Johnny Stallworth near midfield, down at the Steeler 48. And it's such a luxury to have such a great receiver in John Stallworth if you're Pittsburgh.
Absolutely. And now that was the same exact play. Stallworth's caught two passes. The second play of the game, and then this one, both curl routes to the right side, Danny.
Franco Harris wrapped up. Let's head to Nick Rice for an injury report update on Deion Sanders.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, tough news out of Dallas. On the heels of that fumble earlier in the game, Deion Sanders' next return, he suffers this herniated disc and is out for the remainder of the game, depleting the Cowboys' return team and their defense. Guys, back to you.
Nick, it's a tough case for the Cowboys, already dealing with injuries. Roethlisberger eludes the rush for now before he's finally driven to the deck. Chuck Howley, Super Bowl V MVP, the only MVP on a losing team, with the sack.
Now that was an edge rush. You got two safeties coming from both corners. Roethlisberger isn't much of a scrambler. He can move well in the pocket with his feet, but if you want him to rush, you want to make him step up, he's going to get that far, and that's exactly what Dallas did.
3rd and 15. Roethlisberger is sacked again. This time the rush came in for the Cowboys with Ed Too Tall Jones.
I like the play call. A couple edge rushes off to the side, so that's what Ben's expecting. You have Ed Too Tall Jones coming right up the middle. Great play call to set up another punt.
Ben Roethlisberger, a tall quarterback, but even still, Ed Too Tall Jones, too much of a task. Bob Hayes on the return, and the electric Bob Hayes heads all the way to the 28. And now we have our first formal introduction of the Heisman Trophy winner out of Navy, Roger Staubach, two-time Super Bowl champion with the Cowboys in Super Bowl VI and Super Bowl XII. And he had to battle in the early stages of his career with Craig Morton for the starting role. But in the end, Staubach won that job, and he shined for Dallas. Emmitt Smith wrapped up by T.J. Watt. Let's meet the starting offense for the Dallas Cowboys, who are without Michael Irvin out for all the postseason. So Drew Pearson and Bob Hayes, in particular, has filled in nicely for Dallas's postseason run.
Absolutely, and in that last game too, Danny, he's just clutch, and in the divisional round with all of those streak routes to the end zone, making almost every catch.
How about this guy, Emmitt Smith? He makes the catch for a first down. You talk about the receivers for Dallas, but let's not forget Emmitt Smith, all-time leading rusher in NFL history.
Yep, and I play call because Emmitt Smith is so quick with his movements, and you want to gain him that separation and a little bit of his own. So when you pass it to him, there's not a lot
there
of...
There he goes! Emmitt Smith breaks in through the secondary before Jack Butler finally wraps him up at the 38.
Once again, Emmitt Smith, so quick. Watch him come out of here. So he's going to go, and then boom, a little quick twist of the ankle at about the 50-yard line. Allowed him to gain an extra 5 yards there until he was tackled. He can read the field so well, and he knows every coverage, and that's exactly what you want out of any running back.
Dorsett in the backfield. Staubach throws the middle, and the pass is caught. Jason Witten to the 16 on the gain of 22.
And that was classic 90s Dallas Cowboys right there. Rodgers back to throw. Nobody even near him. Perfect blocking from the offensive line. Jason Witten. Absolutely beautiful job by the offensive line to give Staubach all the time that he needed.
Reminiscent of Billy Joe Dupree and Jay Novacek. Staubach works under center. Bob Hayes goes in motion. Staubach to the air. Roger Staubach has all day and finds Bob Hayes underneath, and that only yields maybe a yard. Oh, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and where do you even begin with a whopping 9 Pro Football Hall of Famers, and plenty more you have to imagine to come. You have the steel curtain, and then the pre-Super Bowl era, Ernie Stautner, and among others. But we've reached the end of one quarter play. The Steelers lead the Cowboys 7-0. 2nd and 9. Here in Dream Bowl 8. DeBock alongside Connor Fochesato with the Cowboys driving. Staubach scans the middle and throws an incompletion to Terrell Owens. 3rd and 9 and coming up for Dallas.
Very dangerous throw. Look here, Terrell Owens makes him leave his feet, has to jump forward towards that football. 3 Pittsburgh Steelers all over him right there, causing him to drop it.
3rd down. Staubach works out of the shotgun. Formation of the Cowboys made famous. Staubach throws, end zone, incomplete. Broken up again by Troy Polamalu.
Troy Polamalu, he's not going to play well back into the end zone. Pardon me, he was playing well back in the end zone, and he was just in a zone. So he's looking at Roger Staubach the whole way. By the time that ball was released, he already knew where the ball was going to get in front and make that block.
Uh-oh.
False start, offense. Repeat, 4th down.
So longer field goal attempt for Brandon Aubrey. This from 37 yards away out of the hold of Troy Aikman. And Aubrey's kick, airborne and good. Brandon Aubrey, who sent the Cowboys to the Dream Bowl with his game-winning kick against the 49ers, drills this field goal, put the Cowboys in front.
And going up against the Steelers team with so many Hall of Famers, take all the points you can get. So I like going for the field goal there instead of being down 7.
Rod Whitson on the return, out past the 20 to the 22. We mentioned that NFC Championship, Connor, as we take a look at that game. Terrell Owens in overtime stood out for the Cowboys with that key catch that in the end set up Brandon Aubrey for the game-winning field goal to send the Cowboys to Dream Bowl 8. But look at the Steelers. And look at the 2 runs for the 2 teams. Pittsburgh was one of dominance. Dallas was one where they were close to the heart rate monitor throughout. As Franco Harris gains a couple. Injury on the field. That does not look good. Slow to get up. Leroy Jordan, part of the Cowboys championship in Super Bowl 6. 2nd and 7. For the Steelers, Franco Harris breaks away. Plenty of open field for Franco Harris inside the 30. He lost the football out of bounds, but a massive run for the Penn State product.
I love the differences in running backs for this. So Emmitt Smith, he's gonna cause a lot of moves and make a lot of people miss. Franco Harris is power back, and don't get me wrong, he is really fast, but his strength showed off there with that stiff arm and gained about 20 more yards there before he was tackled out of bounds.
And it was one of his plays, maybe the biggest in Steelers history. Quick pass to Heath Miller, dragged down. Let's head to Nick Rice for an injury update.
Completes the pass.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, one of the great linebackers in this Dallas defense, Super Bowl 6 champion Leroy Jordan, pinched a nerve in his neck, but will return soon for the Cowboys.
Thanks, Nick Rice. Great to see that Leroy Jordan is expected to make a return. But the Steelers hoping to return the tables on the Cowboys with a score of their own. Franco Harris breaks a tackle, has the 1st down inside the 15 to the 12.
Number 32.
How about that? Franco's leading his Italian army almost on a horse right there as he gallops all of those bodies and gains a couple of yards on the play. He is playing with all heart as he knows that means everything.
A 4-time Super Bowl champion, MVP in Super Bowl 9 against the Minnesota Vikings. Eric Green goes in motion. Roethlisberger launches out of play, incomplete. 2nd down upcoming for the Steelers. And you talk about the matchup between Steelers-Cowboys with Super Bowl 10 and how incredible that game was. Many said that may have been the greatest of all time, topped off next by Super Bowl 13, which stands to the test of time as one of the greatest Super Bowls to this era, as Jerome Bettis is dragged down by Sean Lee. But then Super Bowl 30, when the Cowboys won their final championship, thanks to a great defensive performance from Larry Brown, as you see the tackle from Jerome Bettis, from Bob Brunig, one of the underrated stars of the doomsday defense for the Cowboys. 3rd and 12 for the Steelers. Roethlisberger looks to throw. Scans the grid, and he is hit and dead. Pass is incomplete in the end, but the rush caved in on the Miami of Ohio quarterback.
Well, Danny, I don't close when you talk about rivalries, because most of the time rivalries in the game is going to be within the division. These are two teams, one from the NFC and one from the AFC, as he kicks this one through.
Sean Sweezum notches through the field goal, and the Steelers have a 7-point lead restored. We'll look at the kick again out of the hold of backup quarterback Terry Bradshaw. Sweezum is fired up that he made the kick. And the Steelers fired up that they have a 7-point lead. The lone touchdown scored by Andy Russell. Here is Bob Hayes on the return, and he's dragged down. Let's go to Nick Rice.
While the Steelers have enjoyed a great bill of health this year, the Cowboys have not. Late in the season against Philadelphia, Hall of Famer Michael Irvin, the playmaker, herniated his disc and is out for the year. The following week at the Giants, Rayfield Wright, legendary right tackle, tore his hamstring at the Giants, and he's out as well for the Dream Bowl.
Thank you, Nick. Tough with Rayfield Wright and Michael Irvin, two intricate parts of the Cowboys team, being injured late in the year, and that's what makes this playoff run even more remarkable as Staubach throws towards the sideline, and the pass is incomplete, intended for Jason Witten.
Surprised to see Jason Witten running such an interesting route. Now, that was an out. You go towards the middle of the field, it runs about 5 yards, and then you go immediately towards that line. And usually you're going to want to set up your really fast receivers with something like that. So it was a very interesting play call.
Here's Emmitt Smith, who nearly broke out of the pack. Instead, he picks up 8.
And that's what marks a great running back, Danny. Sometimes it's not those really huge runs that get into the end zone, but those little runs kind of shimmy a little bit and gain a few extra yards. Makes it 3rd and 2 instead of 3rd and 6.
Can they convert, though? Staubach looking, throws behind Jason Witten, and the Cowboys forced to punt. Look at that play again.
Well, it looks Witten here was a little bit distracted, didn't turn quite in time. In fact, he turned after the ball passed shoulder. So that was a timing and a communication issue from quarterback to wide receiver.
Jack Ham and Jack Lambert were in the vicinity of the pass. Dallas dodges a bullet in more ways than simply one. Antonio Brown on the return for the Steelers from his 20, and he is down at the 27. So we get to see the Steelers go to work on offense. And for the Steelers in their playoff run, well, they have certainly been dominated the Browns in the divisional round. We were there for that, Connor. Then Nick Rice and Phil Nunziata were there for the AFC Championship as Franco Harris picks up as much as the line of scrimmage. Randy White makes the stop. But out of the AFC, though, Connor, when you look at the best all-time rosters, it seems clear-cut that there is no better team to be in that role than Pittsburgh, as Roethlisberger looks to throw on 2nd and 10 and throws the middle. Lynn Swann all the way into Dallas territory to the 36 and a gain of 37.
Yeah, and to prove your point, Danny, as we take a look at this replay, what a great route with a quick turn to his left to gain that extra separation. But to prove your point, Danny, the Pittsburgh Steelers teams in the AFC that have had so many Hall of Famers in 2 separate decades, making them a complete team.
And all practically in the Super Bowl era as Roethlisberger's hit as he throws, and the pass is knocked down. Good defense from Cornell Green.
Absolutely. And as much as I love other teams, like if you take a look at Cleveland, for example, that was a team that was kicking butt back in the late 50s and the 60s. And so this game is more of a modern game that
Roethlisberger lets one go, and the pass incomplete. Intended for John Henry Johnson, one of the few Steelers on this team that played in the pre-Super Bowl era. John Henry Johnson, part of the $1 million backfield with the 49ers for a time. 3rd and 10, though, for the Steelers, as Roethlisberger looks and fires. Hines Ward with a catch and a first down for the Steelers.
The catch is made for a first
Hines Ward is a very small but quick route runner. As you take a look there, he moves his ducks to his right and then goes left. That was a great route run by Hines Ward. Roethlisberger put that ball right on the money.
The hero of Super Bowl 40 in a victory against the Seattle Seahawks. On first down, Roethlisberger has all day and throws into traffic, and Johnny Stallworth makes an incredible catch.
Stallworth. Not often you'll see him after that, but he knows that this is a huge thing. This is the Dream Bowl. It's a rematch. And he's catch right here. And then he's going to go down and pump his arms in the air, Danny, right after he's tackled. That was a very, very huge down. Check down.
Steelers knocking on the door. Roethlisberger stands in the pocket and finds Hines Ward underneath. And he gains 4 to bring up 2nd down. Steelers could, in theory, pick up a 1st down without scoring. But that would be at the 1-inch line. Here's Franco Harris with a lane. Franco Harris saw daylight. And he is down to the 1, but does not have the 1st down. 3rd and short with Jerome Bettis in the backfield. Roethlisberger throws, and he throws a pass into the gutter section of the suites in the Super Bowl. That was absolutely launched.
That's what marks a great quarterback, Danny, is the quick decision to throw it away. Most guys would have hung on to that ball, caused a fumble. That's a very smart play by Ben Roethlisberger.
Sean squeezed him. Notches through a field goal, and the Steelers lead by 10 with 2:03 to go. As we take a look at some of the stats in this game, Steelers have the edge on offense, although the one key point is that, well, the lone touchdown was scored off special teams.
Well, Pittsburgh, they've had longer drives, and they've just been kind of marching it down the field methodically. Dallas, they've had more attempts trying to launch it a long way with the pass.
Bob Hayes wrapped up at the 19-yard line. A look at Dallas offense so far. Roger Staubach, it has been tough. 3 of 9 so far, and he has not found much against this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Emmitt Smith has had a few bright spots, but it has been tough sledding for the Cowboys so far against this vaunted Pittsburgh Steelers team. Not to mention the scoop and score from Andy Russell that has certainly impacted things. Fresh off the 2-minute warning, Staubach cranks up the deep ball, and the pass is caught and dropped by Bob Hayes.
Well, that looked very similar to what we saw in the divisional round, Danny, except this time had about an inch of separation between the hands of himself and his defense. That was perfectly played in terms of coverage.
Donnie Shell had the coverage for Pittsburgh. 2nd and 10. Staubach finds Jason Witten, who has the 1st down. And the Cowboys hurry to the line of scrimmage in the closing stages of the first half. Staubach, quick throw again. Jason Witten has another 1st down. 2 quick hitters for Staubach. Moves the chains down to 90 seconds to go in the half. Staubach again. Look at the time he has. And he's able to connect with, guess who? Jason Witten a 3rd time. And the Cowboys again hurry to the line of scrimmage. Will they look to him again? Staubach this time goes deep, and the pass is Hayes incomplete.
Well, who would have thought that back he's Roger Staubach and Drew Pearson and all of those wide receivers, that right now his favorite receiver would be the tight end in the slot and Jason Witten. And you know what? I think Pittsburgh is putting a lot of emphasis on the wide receivers, so it's giving Jason Witten a lot more wiggle room to run those routes.
Let's not forget, he scored Cowboys' lone touchdown in the NFC Championship against San Francisco when he was wide open. Here's Staubach this time going deep, and the pass again to Bob Hayes, and again the same result, an incomplete pass.
Well, most of Bob Hayes' routes have been long routes down the sideline. And so it's really hard to angle those passes perfectly to keep him in. At that point, he was catching it, foot already out of bounds. Doesn't even matter. And he suffered a pretty brutal rolling out of bounds there, too, being hit by, I believe it was Troy Polamalu.
On 3rd and 10, Staubach finds Drew Pearson for a first down connection for Dallas.
And I like to see more Drew Pearson, too.
Staubach
receiver
in trouble, and he's sacked. And the Cowboys call their last timeout of the first half. 49 seconds to remain, but still time to work with for Dallas. Staubach, he lunges towards the end zone. Bob Hayes, did he bring the feet down? He did not. Incomplete a third time to Hayes.
How many times are we going to see that guy catch a pass and try to keep his feet in bounds, Danny? Absolutely amazing this whole postseason.
Staubach this time looks away from Bob Hayes, instead found CeeDee Lamb. Here's Brandon Aubrey for a long field goal attempt of 44 yards out. Now the hold, three-time Super Bowl champion Troy Aikman. And Aubrey's kick, driving towards the uprights and good. Well, the story in this game, the special teams has scored all the points in this Dream Bowl up to this stage. It's Brandon Aubrey with 2 field goals of his own to match that of Sean Sweezen and Pittsburgh. 33 seconds remain in the first half. Nick Rice will have updates at the half for you. Rod Woodson on the return for Pittsburgh all the way out to the 14. A look at the Steelers so far on offense. Ben Roethlisberger, not the greatest of evenings up to this stage, but nursing a 7-point lead is quite the caveat to have. Franco Harris, productive night on the ground. That huge run set up the stage for the Steelers. But a 13-6 lead late in the first half, and lots to like if you are head coach Chuck Noll. See what the Steelers elect to do here. Jerome Bettis is in the backfield for Steelers offense. And they keep on the ground with Jerome Bettis to the 30. Bettis cuts it outside to the 40, and he's finally wrapped up. Another look at Jerome Bettis.
Pettis looking at Franco Harris from the last drive and says, you know what? If I ever come into a certain situation knocked all around me, I'm going to do the same exact thing and just jump over people. These are very powerful running backs.
Franco Harris is in. Roethlisberger hit as he throws. Antonio Brown makes the catch over the middle for a gain of 8. Steelers expend their final timeout.
Number 7.
That was huge. And I'm surprised that Ben Roethlisberger went for a pass right over the middle, because if they make the catch, you are going to have to use that timeout. The 18 seconds left, you have no choice but to throw it deep here.
2nd and 2. Roethlisberger stands in the pocket. He has plenty of time and goes deep towards the end zone, and it is incomplete. 3rd down, Johnny Stallworth, very frustrated.
Throwing it over the middle, and that last play is going to do. Because Ben Roethlisberger actually had a hole to run the ball at that timeout, but because they didn't have that timeout and they burned it on the last play, he had to throw it deep.
This pass caught by Swan in the middle of the field, and that brings us to halftime. The Cowboys do get the football to start the second half of Dream Bowl 8, but it's all special teams as far as scoring is concerned. But in Dream Bowl 8, Steelers lead the Cowboys 13-6. Let's go to Nick Rice.
The all-time rosters franchise championship game is at the half, Pittsburgh and Dallas. The opening score was less than 2 minutes into the game, and Andy Russell returned touchdown, the only touchdown scored tonight. Brandon Aubrey and Sean Sweezen of the Cowboys and Steelers have combined 4 for 4 on field goals. Steelers have taken the lead due to their outstanding ball control, outpossessing Dallas by over 4 minutes and outrushing the Cowboys 90-35. The Cowboys were the best third down offense in the league this season, but are just 1 for 5 tonight and just don't seem to be on the same page as Staubach and these Cowboys receivers. Meanwhile, both teams have had a horrid night in the red zone. All 3 drives inside the 20 have ended with field goals. These are teams that combined for a 53% red zone touchdown rate, 0% tonight. And I've got 2 game balls to hand out tonight for the Steelers. 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl champion Andy Russell with the touchdown and the biggest play of the day yet, a 25-yard fumble return for a score. Cowboys have a game ball as well, and he is one of the great tight ends of all time in the legendary Jason Witten, 4 catches for 61 yards. Roger Staubach has struggled to find just about every other receiver in this offense, but Witten has been the best thing going for Dallas, keeping them in the game. These big catches late in the first half set up the Brandon Aubrey field goal, which trimmed the lead to 1 possession. Let's check out the numbers in the first half of this one. That Andy Russell takeaway was the 11th in a row for Pittsburgh without a turnover. Certainly the turnovers will continue to be a story to watch as we continue for the all-time rosters franchise championship game. Pittsburgh leads 13-6.
One half of football. That's all it is that separates one team from a Dream Bowl championship. A look at the halftime stats. Look at total offense for Pittsburgh, 195 yards on offense. But Dallas only 35 yards on the ground, and that's half that Nick mentioned at halftime. 1 of 5 on third down. The Cowboys, the best third down offense, having their difficulties against the Steelers tonight. Second half commences. Bob Hayes from his end zone brings it out past the 20 and all the way to that 20-yard line. Look at the quarterback comparison between the two quarterbacks. Nothing that truly stands out in that regard. Numbers very much even across the grid. Both quarterbacks have thrown nearly the same number of passes and nearly the same number of completions. Emmitt Smith on the call picks up 5 on the carry. But, Connor, what are you looking to see out of the Cowboys here in the second half?
Well, I would like to see a lot less really throws to Bob Hayes. You know, get him open by running a bunch of curl routes. Give him that zone.
DeBock is decked and sacked. T.J. Watt comes in for the TFL.
It's Pittsburgh coming off the edge, and T.J. Watt, man, he could have a huge impact on this game if he continues to keep that. But I'd like to see Bob Hayes run routes that has nothing to do with the streak to the end zone. You know, just get him open, find those cushions within the secondary.
DeBock, he's going deep, and the pass is incomplete. Thrown in the direction of Drew Pearson. That brings up fourth down, and the punting unit for the Cowboys and Matt McBriar trot on. Matt McBriar sends this one away. Antonio Brown on the return. And Brown all the way to the 40-yard line. Steelers' season has had its difficult stretches, and this game was part of it against Cincinnati, where Ben Roethlisberger had a very difficult time against the Cincinnati defense. This the only game all year that the Steelers did not score an offensive touchdown. They did win the game. Terry Bradshaw was a part of that stretch where the Steelers had to scratch and claw, and that was in the middle between 2 games that they lost. A horrible performance against the Chiefs, and also a loss to Cleveland sprinkled in between. Roethlisberger finds Hines Ward, and this completion heads to the Dallas 37.
Well, Hines has not taken any time off since halftime. No, I mean, he was running really quick routes. Ben Roethlisberger only able to give him 1 completion in the first half, and this time they're looking for him. I'd like to see them implement Hines Ward a little bit more, especially on those small routes.
And Franco Harris is implemented for a gain of 9.5.
Great blocking by the offensive line. So that was that was an off tap to the right side, and they really handed it off deep in the backfield to give Franco that space that the blocks be set up.
Jerome Bettis load up in the backfield by Everson Walls.
That is a huge tackle. 3rd and 1. Make it 4th down if they get the stop here. Instead of getting that 1st down, it'll be a quick 3 and out to start. Could be huge for Dallas.
And this time, Jerome Bettis wrapped up in the backfield. Darren Woodson made the stop. And that forces the Steelers to resort towards the field goal unit. And look at the stop from Micah Parsons of Dallas. And he makes the play, and he does want some money, too, in the end result. See if that ends up happening. But Sean Sweezum, a 48-yard field goal attempt. More pressing matters here in the Dream Bowl. Now the hold of Terry Bradshaw, and the kick is good. The Steelers lead Dallas 16-6, and a team that has battled through so many wild games to reach this point faces a 10-point deficit against this Steelers juggernaut. As here's the kickoff from Sweezum. They'll Renfro on the return for Dallas. And Renfro out near the 20 to the 21. Look at some of the statistics so far in this contest here, Connor. First and 10 for the Cowboys. Emmett Smith with a lane. Emmett Smith. Massive gain for the Cowboys to the 35 with 4:10 to go in the third.
Well, this is a very basic run play. It's a handoff up the middle, and they're just going to say, Emmett wants you to just look for that open gap and then shoot straight through it. And that's exactly the creativity that Emmett Smith wants whenever he gets the ball.
DeBock looks down the field and finds Jason Witten again, nearing a 100-yard game in the Dream Bowl.
I am so surprised with the routes we have seen Jason Witten run. Not only in the NFC Championship game where he scored that very touchdown, but the fact that they have him running so far, and he's catching the ball like a receiver and pulling it in. He's just been all over the place.
Come on, dog!
This is bulldozed by Mel Blount for a loss of 1.
Well, they're ready to stop the run. The question is if they can stop Jason Witten and company in the way back there in the field.
DeBock throws this time to Des Bryant of all receivers. Sets up 3rd and 8.
And that's the first time we've seen Des Bryant in this game make a so he's been a little bit silent, but we'll see if they start throwing him the ball more often, if they start double teaming Jason Witten on those long routes.
Ace of the Crazy Eights in Dallas as Drew Pearson, another one of those 88 receivers, has a first down for the Cowboys.
Dangerous throw by Staubach. You don't really see him make mistakes like this where he leads the receiver right the outside linebacker in Troy Polamalu, but kind of let him in there, but Hall of Fame receiver in his own right, able to hold on to that ball.
Well, hey, it worked. Emmett Smith, this time getting tackled by James Harrison at the line. Brings up 2nd and 12 for the Cowboys, knocking on the door of the red zone. As mentioned by Nick Rice at halftime, the red zone struggles for both the Steelers and Cowboys have affected them. Tony Dorsett, this time, not much doing. And that brings up 3rd and 10 for Dallas.
And that's the first time we've seen Dallas hand the ball off to Tony Dorsett. Kind of interesting to see him not be implemented so much in this game.
DeBock to throw. His pass is incomplete, broken up by Mel Blount.
He had the rush coming from Bach's right side, but he noticed the rush coming from the blind side, so he quickly had to get rid of that ball. Forced his hand there. He was lucky that they didn't intercept that pass.
Brandon Aubrey's kick is good, and the Cowboys make it a one-score game yet again. 27 seconds remain in the third. Quarterback comparison, Connor, not much difference between the two.
No, not much of a difference. These two teams are so loaded on the defensive side of the ball, and I think when you think of Dallas, we think about their defense that much, but I mean, these are two teams with so many Hall of Famers defensively, which makes it really hard for these quarterbacks, considering the old phrase defense championships. I mean, it's hard for these quarterbacks to throw the ball into all of these double and triple coverages.
Rod Woodson on the return breaks the tackle near the 20, brought down at that point. And Connor, to what you alluded to, Dallas Cowboys have 4 defensive Super Bowl MVPs, and that is the most out of any team in league history. Roethlisberger works under center as Steelers go up against that doomsday Dallas defense, and the pitch is snapped by Hines Ward for a gain of 3.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, part of this quarter, Hines Ward, I'd like to see more of him, and right now they're giving him a lot of passes. That was and that route, had he gained more separation, he would have had more room.
Fourth quarter is next.
Touchdown, Steelers.
One quarter remains before a Dream Bowl champion is crowned, or maybe there might be more time necessary. Franco Harris gets the first call and gains 1 to bring up 3rd and 5 on the way for Pittsburgh.
1 yard gain.
I am surprised by that call, considering that it was 2nd and long. Franco Harris not really able to gain the yardage that they need, so this is going to be probably a quick short pass.
Roethlisberger, quick short pass. Heath Miller has enough from the naked eye. And he does pick up the first down.
Well, you had 2 outside receivers running across the field. So that's going to bring the backs to bait a little bit up the field, which gives that person in the flat more room to make the with the ball. That was a really good play call.
Bill Dudley siding in the backfield earlier as Roethlisberger dances in the pocket and throws an incomplete pass. No run throw had the coverage on John Stallworth.
Not many times you'll see Ben Roethlisberger kind of get scared right there. He was dancing around in the pocket through a duck to the right side.
2nd and 10. This is Franco Harris who breaks away. Franco Harris inside the 40 and down to the 36.
Great blocks by the left and right guard and the center. So Franco Harris just go through that giant hole, not even being touched. And at that point, he's got open all around him. And when you've got a Hall of Fame running back like Franco Harris, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you do not want to let those offensive linemen get such great blocks.
David DeCastro had the block. Jerome Bettis breaks away, and there goes Jerome Bettis, and he's got a Steelers touchdown.
Well, what happens when you give it to Franco Harris in that last play and they gain a lot of yards? Dallas is going to look more towards Franco in the backfield, and they don't really expect Jerome Bettis to get. That was a great play call just to trick the Dallas defense, and they probably weren't expecting it to go 6, expecting a big run.
The bus finds the end zone in the Dream Bowl. Look at the numbers for Jerome Bettis, averaging over 10 yards a carry, and this is one of those reasons why. What a run from the bus.
Dan, you can argue that with each carry, he's gaining a first down with over 10 yards per carry, and this time the bus stop in the yellow end zone, and he spikes the ball as hard as he can. What a huge touchdown.
Here's Bob Hayes on the return. He breaks the tackle all the way down to the 29. Look at the last time that the Cowboys lost a road game, and it came against New England in what was a game that Dallas seemingly had controlled play, leading 17-6 in the fourth quarter, but then Tom Brady led the Patriots back again. No surprise in that regard. Where New England won late off a touchdown in the corner to Terry Glenn. That's the last time the Cowboys lost a road game. Jason Witten makes the catch near the sideline, and he did bring in the feet, and Jason Witten's incredible night in the Dream Bowl only continues.
Well, Jason probably had the biggest impact on this game out of anybody other than for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's been all over the place, catching passes in the middle of the field by the side, his toes in. He's been so fast. It's been fun to watch.
DeBock going deep down the field, and it is almost intercepted. Mel Blount had the coverage on Drew Pearson.
Really wishing he had that one back. It looked like he was the intended receiver there, Danny. He was running, and then the right in the chest, but just couldn't pull it in.
DeBock from the shotgun. He looks to throw. Roger Staubach dials one down the middle, and he's intercepted. Picked off by Troy Polamalu. He breaks the tackle. Polamalu to midfield and down at the 46. Troy Polamalu again with a massive defensive play in the postseason.
Well, with how many throws we have seen, both by Roger Staubach and Ben Roethlisberger, not quite Ben hitting the mark. I'm surprised that that's the first interception we've seen all night. But Troy Polamalu, if anybody's going to get it, it's going to be him because he's so good at reading the quarterback's eyes, but also in his zone.
Roethlisberger to the air. He throws down the field, and the pass is... We have an injured Cowboy. That's Randy White. Pass was incomplete, and that's not a good sign. Randy White, Super Bowl 12 co-MVP with Harvey Martin against the Broncos.
Grabbing that left side, and I mean it's very possible that with this stuff hitting the shoulder pad right there, bringing Ben Roethlisberger down, it may just be the wind knocked out of him. So only something like that.
Roethlisberger is decked. Great trade of DeMarcus Ware and made his presence felt in the Miami of Ohio quarterback.
Well, put DeMarcus Ware on Ben Roethlisberger's side. That is Roethlisberger's blind side, and DeMarcus Ware probably the most explosive on the line. He's quickly going to get there before Ben can even sense it. That's a great place to
pin. Jerome Bettis. This time his average goes down, and the Steelers are forced to punt with 5:10 to go.
And guess who? DeMarcus Ware again from the left side. This time ready to run, wrapping by the waist, and then bringing him down to the turf. What a great game.
Jordan Berry on to punt for the Steelers. And Berry gets this punt away. And this kick descends all the way to the 2-yard line with 4:38 to go. Touchdown by Glenn Edwards. Part of multiple Super Bowl championships for the Steelers during their first two, Super Bowl 9 and 10. But what a great punt. Set up by Jordan Berry. And now for Dallas, you're down 2 scores and also at your own 2. Don Perkins, the fullback for the Cowboys. They give it to Perkins, who is able to get out of the shadow of his own goalpost. What a run from, of all fullbacks, Don Perkins for Dallas.
Well, this is a very smart play call because people are going to expect to get it in the backfield when they are backed up to their own 2-yard line. So give it to the fullback. All he has to do is look for that block, and nobody's going to be expecting him to get the ball.
DeBock going deep, and the pass is pulled down. Drew Pearson with the catch to the Pittsburgh 34.
And Drew with arguably the most important catch of the game for Dallas. Bring past the other side of the 50-yard line. And 2 plays later, Danny, from on their own 2, they're in Pittsburgh Steeler territory. This has been a very short drive, but a very fun one.
Doors set written down in the backfield. Loss of 2. Cowboys hurry to the line of scrimmage. Staubach from the shotgun looks to throw. Quick pass cut by Owens. And he gains 3 to set up 3rd and 9 for Dallas.
Well, in that last game against San Francisco, especially in the late fourth quarter and going into, and now that's his first reception of the game. So he's been kind of silent. I'm surprised we haven't seen Roger go his way more.
DeBock this time throws CeeDee Lamb's way, and he is short of the first down with 2:40 to go. This a juncture where if you're the Cowboys down by 2 scores, you are compelled to leave your offense on the field if you want to have any chance in winning this game. With 2:20 to go, DeBock from the shotgun. This, one of many plays, could be your ball game. DeBock shoots one to the end zone. It is caught! Dez Bryant for the touchdown!
Wow. Dez Bryant, biggest catcher, Danny, in the Dream Bowl, in the rematch of Dream Bowl 6. And this ball was perfectly placed. Troy Polamalu, the Hall of Famer, couldn't quite right above his hands and onto Dez Bryant's chest. And that's what Roger Staubach was nicknamed Captain Comeback and Roger the Dodger back in the 70s. What an hero as they bump it up to a 16 points with the field goal.
Brandon Aubrey adds the extra point. A look at that touchdown again, the connection from quarterback to receiver. You mentioned it, Connor. Pinpoint right on the money for Dez Bryant. Another view into your living room, and you could not have placed that ball any better. Dez Bryant with the touchdown catch. And now Dallas does have all 3 of their timeouts, so decision to make here for Tom Landry. They decide to kick off. This heads well deep. Antonio Brown on the return for the Steelers. And he advances as far out as the 22. Look at the statistics here. Connor, what stands out to you?
Well, Dallas leading in passing yards by over 100 yards. And it's mainly because of that last drive, Danny. That was such a perfectly executed drive for Roger Staubach.
Good gain for Franco Harris on first down. He picks up 5, 2nd down and 5 on the way. Let's head to Nick Rice.
Thanks, guys. One of the greatest ever at his position, Hall of Famer Randy White, back in action after an abdominal strain he sustained earlier in the fourth quarter. Nothing's going to take him out of this big game tonight. Guys, back to you.
2-minute warning in the Dream Bowl. Steelers looking to clinch it. Jerome Bettis written down. Dallas calls their first timeout.
My goodness, what a hit. Shoulder bringing Jerome Bettis right to the turf. My goodness.
This is the season. Roethlisberger looks out of the shotgun with 1:56 to go. He looks to throw. Roethlisberger's pass is incomplete. That stops the clock, and Dallas hold everything. This team of destiny might not be done yet.
Well, anybody on defense been dreaming of a stop like this ever since they were a little kid, to give their offense that final time to have a fight. And everybody was well placed and executed their job perfectly, both from the line's perspective and in the secondary.
Bob Hayes on the punt return for Dallas, all the way to the 42. A look at the quarterback comparison. Roger Staubach has needed to throw the football, and his numbers have gone up. But this has been the battle between Cowboys and their now turned aerial attack against the Steelers' ground game. Here's Staubach to throw. Scans the pocket, throws towards the sideline, and the pass is incomplete. Or is it incomplete pass?
Well, that was also executed play, and they were able to get that block on the right side. Staubach may have been sacked there with a huge block on the right side to give Staubach extra time. Just couldn't complete it.
Staubach on 2nd down. His pass is caught by Owens, and he tiptoes out of bounds at the Steeler 45.
Well, I'm not really sure why they only had one cornerback on that field covering Terrell Owens, or excuse me, it's the outside safety in Troy Polamalu. But that's a very safe route to run. Get Polamalu and then turn to your right to run towards the out-of-bounds marker in order to gain that separation pass.
DeBock throws. Terrell Owens makes yet another catch. A gain of 8. A look at the numbers. And Jason Witten certainly has been the key star out of all the weapons that Roger Staubach has in his arsenal. And he's shown it throughout this game and through the entirety of the postseason. 2nd and 2 for Dallas. Staubach looking. He goes deep into the end zone. It is incomplete. Looking for Bob Hayes.
And I'm not surprised that they went for Bob Hayes, considering how successful in the postseason, getting his feet in bounds and making some incredible catches. Only one guy on him, too. So if you're going to lob up a throw, you might as well send it not double covered.
DeBock finds Terrell Owens, and he has a first down to the 28. Cowboys have to hurry to the line of scrimmage. Here's Staubach again, looking to throw his pass. Bob Hayes out of bounds on a gain of 6 with 1:09 to go in the 4th. And the drama pulsating here in the Dream Bowl.
How about Terrell Owens getting hot when it matters most late in the 4th quarter? Hadn't been thrown to all day until now.
DeBock is jacked and sacked. 3rd down on the way. The Cowboys, great on 3rd down in the regular season. Awful tonight. Can they change it here? 55 seconds left in the Dream Bowl. Staubach looking, throwing, Witten. Another massive play inside the 10. Cowboys hurry to the line of scrimmage. 42 seconds to go. And Staubach spikes the football to stop the clock with 40 seconds left in the game.
Well, Jason Witten, it's like a skinny post, but instead of going on the inside of the zone, he's going to go towards the out-of-bounds area. That was just a great route run by Jason Witten in order for him to gain cushion and get open.
DeBock throwing end zone. Owens, touchdown! They've come all the way back and are an extra point away from tying the game. T.O. does it again.
And a one-hit cue, Danny. Look at Staubach. He has all the time in the world. And Terrell Owens with the man of him. Look this. He goes to his left. Now he goes to his right. And almost slips and falls. He's out with his right hand.
Extra point is good from Aubrey with 34 seconds left. What's even more incredible, Owens made that catch with one hand.
That is going to go down as one of the all-time greatest touchdowns in history of football if Dallas wins this game. Oh my goodness, he was falling down, right hand out, and he palmed the ball. He palmed it like a basketball to his chest.
Antonio Brown on the kickoff return. And he advances all the way out to the 20. A look at the statistics that stand out. Dallas relying heavily on the passing game with those 2 touchdowns. And they have done it with receivers of the present. Jerome Bettis, right side, and he almost broke away. And a season-saving tackle from Chuck Howley, and that takes us to overtime in the Dream Bowl. We'll decide a Dream Bowl champion in OT next. Terrell Owens in the closing seconds of regulation catches the touchdown pass from Roger Staubach with one hand. And the Cowboys rallying from 14 points down to forced overtime. The Steelers win the coin toss. They get the football. Rod Woodson on the return past the 20 and all the way to the 22-yard line. Look at the quarterback comparison. Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger hasn't been called upon much. But Roger Staubach, he's answered the call late. But the Steelers with the football to start overtime. A touchdown wins the Dream Bowl. Here's Roethlisberger to throw, and he looks to run. Ben Roethlisberger able to extend for a first down on a gain of 11.
Number 7, the ball
Well,
carrier.
Big Ben,
Gain of 11.
a really big quarterback, and I'm not really sure what he was thinking. Didn't really have much time, and just decided, well, I'm going to take off with it and squeeze through that small offensive line. And then he was just chugging down the middle of the field.
Roethlisberger set to throw. He's got all day. Ben Roethlisberger, guess what? He's going to run again. Ben Roethlisberger, another first down run.
Number 7.
And this time it's the quarterback that's so durable. This time running the football, another huge gain.
Well, he said he ran it the first time he was successful. This time he's going to roll to his right. Nobody's going to be open, but when a quarterback rolls out, oftentimes the middle of the field to be open. So he just goes towards the middle of the field and is able to gain an easy first down.
Roethlisberger launches, and the pass is incomplete, intended for Johnny Stallworth.
Overshot John Stallworth there, Danny. And he was wide open. I know Big Ben's going to be wishing he had that one back. Just threw it about a foot and a half more to the left.
And 10. Roethlisberger to throw. He's got all day and goes for the home run shot, and the pass is incomplete. Broken up at the last moment, that time by Cliff Harris.
Well, go towards the receiver that he's relied on the most throughout his career in Antonio Brown, and great idea by Ben because Antonio Brown was in a one-on-one and he's got the advantage on the vertical.
Roethlisberger to throw. He throws, and the pass is dropped. Antonio Brown, who never won a Super Bowl with the Steelers, drops a surefire completion.
Well, Antonio saw the giant hit coming before it even came. So he sees somebody coming to his left side, and it shifts his focus off
Jordan Berry
into his chest.
on to punt. And Bob Hayes content to let this one bounce into the end zone for a touchback. So now we're at the juncture where any score wins the game. As we begin Dallas's possession of overtime, who bear to have at the controls on that of Roger Staubach. Engineer of so many comeback drives, all the way to the final regular season game of his career. Staubach has great protection, and he throws an interception! Jack Ham on the interception, and Ham is in for the touchdown, and the Steelers have won the Dream Bowl! My goodness! The interception from Jack Ham, a walk-off winner, and the Steelers make it a three-peat as Dream Bowl champions. Unbelievable! What an ending!
It's over. The ultimate NFL victory is all theirs. They are Super Bowl champions. What an incredible effort to cap an incredible season. All year long, they believed in themselves, and each victory not only defied doubters, it exhilarated their fans, and now no one can question their success as they've risen all the way to the top to be the bearers of the Lombardi Trophy. Pop the champagne and ready the parade. This team is going home as the cream of the entire NFL crop, standing tall as number one. What a moment for every single one of these men who have dreamed from the very first time they put on a helmet what it would be like to live this moment. The sound of the final whistle, a declaration of victory, while fireworks bellow high in the night sky around them. This moment, witnessed by the world, when they can truly call themselves Super Bowl champions. This game's big plays and magical moments are now part of NFL lore, to be replayed over and over again. A highlight reel of charged memories that show that this team was capable of taking hold of this moment, capable of becoming historic. And on the other sideline, the creep of doubt and second guessing brought on by heartbreak, that they came within one win of immortality, only to see the stars had written a different script. one in which their daydreams of victory were dashed. What a feeling for these players, an ongoing sense of accomplishment they'll carry with them their entire lives. It's a win that has eluded so many superstars who have tried, and these men now know it is a gift to rise to the top, to exist even for a second at such a rare height. A bond has been formed that can never be broken, and the spoils are immeasurable.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, Dream Bowl champions again. As we take a look at some of the highlights of this game, Connor Fochesato, so many places to begin, the fanfare to this game, and then the first half was such a battle of both offense and defense colliding, but the special teams reigning. And first big play, the Andy Russell scoop and score, that's where it all began, and that's what led to the beginning of what was an instant classic.
Well, I think, Danny, from the special teams to the defense to the passing yards to the running backs, I mean, every star that you could think of shined him. And you almost forgot, with Roger Staubach coming down with those last two drives, you almost forgot how many Hall of Famers were on the defensive side of the ball for Pittsburgh. But it comes down to that defense to win the Dream Bowl, Triple Crown. My goodness.
Look at some of the spectacular highlights. Hats off to Dallas, how they were able to come back down 14 late in the fourth quarter with the dramatic touchdown from Terrell Owens. Here's Franco Harris running his Italian army in the Dream Bowl, and part of the Steelers ground game that certainly established them during the latter stages of the game. There's the Jerome Bettis touchdown run that put the Steelers up by 14 to a point where it seemed as if Pittsburgh was going to run away with a Dream Bowl championship. But the Cowboys, with different intentions, after a much-needed stop. Here's another look at the Jerome Bettis touchdown run. But in the end, the Cowboys, with their valiant comeback, where they came up just short. Another look at the Jerome Bettis touchdown run in the Dream Bowl in an incredible finish. Then the Cowboys mounted their comeback with two late touchdowns from Roger Staubach, including this interception, though, of Troy Polamalu. But the two touchdowns from Dallas, as we look at some of the amazing storylines from this game, how about those two touchdowns late from the Cowboys in order to make it a game?
You just didn't expect it to happen, considering all day they just couldn't really follow their tempo with the passing game. And then all of a sudden, Roger Staubach, almost Tom Brady-esque, with where he could kind of be struggling the first three quarters, and then in the he just turns it on and finds the way, especially late in the fourth quarter. And again, being so silent, and then in that final drive, just was an animal in the red zone. And that is going to be one of the saddest gotten catches in NFL history, that one-handed grab to tie the game. But I mean, this bowl, or this Dream Bowl per se, is going to go down as arguably maybe within the top three games the ever seen, Danny. And I mean, to have it go down between the Hall of Fame clubs, Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers, probably the biggest rivalry you'll see between an AFC team and an NFC team throughout league history. You just couldn't have written a better going into that overtime.
Better script. And then in the end, you talk about the Steel Curtain and their linebacking core that is certainly top-notch and some of the best of all time. But for Jack Ham to have the walk-off pick six, how big is that play as a whole for not only the Steelers and as a microcosm of the team, but also of who they are? And if there's a way for the Steelers to win this game, it's only fitting it was the defense.
Sure. And, had any other player for Pittsburgh on defense that maybe was kind of a lesser known name, that would have made them legend in Pittsburgh all time. But that play doesn't change in any way how people view Jack Ham. He was more, now it only kind of heightens it even more, considering you had the walk-off touchdown. But you, as I said before, you almost forgot just how amazing that defense was in those final two that Dallas had before the walk-off interception by Jack Ham. But again, going to be one aspect of a team that's going to win the game. It's going to be those Hall of Famers that you have on the defensive side of the ball for Pittsburgh.
Before we continue with our Dream Bowl 8 post-game coverage, let's recap the game we saw tonight, one of the greatest of all time between Pittsburgh and Dallas. With 5:27 to go, Troy Polamalu's interception, his second of the playoffs, appeared to have sealed a Steelers win. But after a Pittsburgh 3-and-out, Dallas went 98 yards on 6 plays. A spectacular catch and run from Drew Pearson was capped by this beautiful pass from Staubach to Bryant, his first touchdown pass of the ballgame. Following another Pittsburgh 3-and-out, out come the Cowboys. Jason Witten, who went for over 100 yards on the day, began the drive, and then Terrell Owens ended the drive with just seconds remaining, and we head to overtime. Roger Staubach, who is so good in the clutch throughout the playoffs, his first pass of overtime is not just an interception, but for Hall of Famer Jack Ham, who has the most picks in Steelers history, playing in the 70s for the dynastic Pittsburgh franchise. He returns for the touchdown and wins Dream Bowl MVP honors with 2 tackles and the 24-yard interception return. Great games out of Andy Russell, Jason Witten, and Roger Staubach, but Jack Ham wins the honor in the end. Let's check out the game stats for this one tonight. Pittsburgh didn't do much throwing the ball. Roethlisberger was nearly tripled up in yardage, but they did a great job forcing turnovers yet again. A plus 24 margin on the season. Dallas was negative 11. Some incredible moments this year for the all-time rosters franchise. Let's take a look at the greatest plays of the season. Out of timeouts, Moon looking for a miracle. He lobs the ball into the end zone, and it is caught by Givens. Ernest Givens looked like he was in, and they say yes, he's in for the touchdown. Ernest Givens with his first catch of the year, and he beats Steve Atwater.
Campbell up the gut. Earl Campbell turns for yardage. He lost the ball. And Jacksonville has recovered.
Elway a chance to be the hero. He's back. 4-man rush to the end zone for Marshall. He's got it. The officials will discuss it. Marshall is in. Touchdown, Denver Broncos.
20 seconds remaining. Montana heavy drop back. He'll crank it up deep. Montana's throw is caught. Washington to the 1. Gene Washington with the huge catch.
Winner to Pittsburgh for the AFC title. Manning to throw, intercepted by Howie Long, and the Raiders are going to win the game.
Barring a penalty, this is the final play of regulation. Mahomes to the end zone. It is juggled, and is it caught? Otis Taylor, it's a touchdown. Staubach has great protection, and he throws an interception. Jack Ham on the interception, and Ham is in for the touchdown, and the Steelers have won the Dream Bowl. Those are some of the fantastic finishes from this past season of the Dream Season Football League. And Connor, there were so many wild endings. Where do you even start with all those crazy games and what really is an incredible season?
Well, I mean, let's just start with one of the stars of tonight's game, unfortunately, on the losing side. I mean, Terrell Owens. I don't know if that guy could get any more clutch. If you look at all of the history going into this season, you had the wild card, the catch part 2 against the Packers with Steve Young, and then going into that game this season against the Cardinals. I mean, first off, Rod Moore making that catch at the end of that drive was spectacular. Then with just seconds to spare, somehow out of nowhere, Terrell Owens making another incredible catch to seal the deal for the 49ers. Just an amazing game. And then you take a look at the Titans or the Oilers taking on the Denver Broncos, and who would have thought that in a quarterback battle between Dan Fouts and John Elway, Fouts would be the one to outperform John Elway at the end of of overtime there, combining with LaDainian Tomlinson, and I believe he ended the game with 322 passing yards in Denver in Mile High. It can't get any better than that. Then you take a look at the Chiefs and Dolphins game, a
Oh,
la Sea of Hands all over again.
yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I could not believe that amazing catch with 1 second left. First off, you had the play beforehand where
Yeah.
it was incomplete and left 1 second on the clock. So sometimes it's just down to those little nanoseconds. And of course, Otis Taylor. I mean, it couldn't have happened to a better guy to defeat
Yeah.
Miami. And for the Chiefs to do it in those old retro uniforms too, just kind of added to it. Finally, I mean, the walk-off touchdown, Brady Manning and Jim Nance with the walk-off touchdown. I mean, that's just another story added to the legend of those two teams and the Brady Manning rivalry. So, I mean, you couldn't have had a better regular season, Danny, and a better
Yeah.
postseason to wrap everything up.
What a postseason we had too, Connor, where it began wild card weekend and we were there for some of those wild games. The Packers victory over the Rams, where Amon Green slotted as the number two back all year. Jim Taylor gets into a bar fight and then has a showcase second half against the Rams, and then Peyton Manning leading a comeback against the Kansas City Chiefs with a long touchdown to his go-to receiver, Marvin Harrison, with a minute to go. And then Connor, we were there in New England for that wild ending between the Browns and the Patriots, a screenplay that gets blown up. And that was the wild card alone. And then the divisional round, Raiders and Colts game that went into overtime, and a dramatic late tying touchdown and a two-pointer to tie it up was incredible in and of itself. And then on top of that, then you have one of the best games of the playoffs, Dallas beating Green Bay, and then the NFC Championship, Owens the tying catch. This postseason, where do you even start with so many great games, Connor? It's been incredible.
Well, you just got to start with the rosters, and when you have
Yeah.
all of these teams, and it really it comes down to, and we always talk about this as football fans, but it comes down to the quarterbacks, and a Hall of Fame quarterback in a regular season where it's not an all-time team can bring a mediocre team to a level where they're making it to the divisional round, the NFC AFC championship, to the Super Bowl sometimes. I mean, we've seen, John Elway, Dan Marino, and Tom Brady just carrying teams on their back that had no business in being in the big game. Peyton Manning as well. So when you have teams that have these talented, high prolific passers, and then you give them a Hall of Fame roster around them. I mean, that's where you start, and that's where you get all of these high scoring, really close affairs between all of these rivalries going into the postseason.
But it was all capped off in the end with the Dream Bowl.
Yep.
And you talk about a way to end a season. Connor, it doesn't get much better than what we just witnessed.
No, it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. First off, if you're going to hope for a Dream Bowl championship, you're probably going to hope Steelers, Cowboys, just because of the history of those teams meeting in the Super Bowl so many times. And, to have those two teams meet for a third time in a Dream Bowl, and to have both offenses show up late in the fourth quarter to, again, Roger Staubach tying the game with that one-handed catch to Terrell Owens, Jason Witten coming out of absolute nowhere and becoming maybe the MVP receiver of that entire game, even though he is a tight end. I mean,
Yeah.
it just doesn't get any better than that. And then to cap it off, if there's going to be, like I said in the postseason, the post game show, if one aspect of one of those teams is going to win the game, it's going to be the steel curtain and all those Hall of Famers. Again, Jack Ham with the walk-off touchdown interception couldn't have written it better.
Steelers win the Dream Bowl 29-23 in overtime off a walk-off pick six from Jack Ham. But as this concludes another Dream Season Football League season, and as a lot of good things have to come to an end, I do want to thank Nick Rice for making this all possible. It was the advent to the start of season seven when I personally I was a fan of his channel growing up when I was a kid, when he was running his channel back in 2010, and he's grown it into what it is today. And it's been so cool to witness. And I reached out to him, and it was awfully kind of him to let me jump in and join for season 7, deciding the greatest team of all time. And it's bled into this season, to season 8, and for the best all-time teams ever. And so to be a part of that has been special. But well, a lot of good things must come to an end, and actively pursuing a career and being a hockey play-by-play broadcaster. So sadly, this is indefinitely my final call for Charge Due 95 for Nick Rice's channel. And want to thank Nick for being so gracious with his time and allowing me to working on my craft. And it's without a doubt that I would not be at the level that I am at as a broadcaster without his insight, his intuition, and him giving me the opportunity. So I'm very blessed for what Nick Rice has done through his channel, through Charge U95, and I owe him a lot of credit. But what a series, what a season, what a year, Connor. After a wild Dream Bowl, how do you put a bow on this?
Well, I think you're going to put a bow on it just with the memories. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
first off, all of you lovely people that have tuned in to just hear Danny and I and everybody else make these calls, we just truly appreciate it, and so does Nick. We appreciate all the support that you have given us throughout this season, and we're going to place a bow on it just with the memory of this amazing all-time season. You had all of those great games in the regular season that we just went over that you're going to remember for such a long time, and then to bring it in to those divisional rounds, and then the AFC and NFC championship game. I mean, who can forget the Cowboys? I mean, with one of the more dramatic NFC championship endings you'll ever see. And then to top it off with the Super Bowl against the Steelers and the Cowboys on a walk-off interception by Hall of Famer Jack Ham. I mean, it's something that you'll just never forget. And so, to all of you supporters that watch the channel, you gave it your all this season, and we're just so happy that we were able to broadcast all of these amazing games for you. Danny and I are so happy that our voices will forever be linked to these, just some of these amazing plays, and we just really appreciate you guys tuning in. And I know, Danny, you'll be signing off. Hopefully I'll be back for Charger Dude 95, as my future's kind of up in the air too. But we just really appreciate all of you guys.
So for the final time this season for Connor Fochesato, I'm Danny Box saying so long and take care. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Dream Bowl champions in overtime, 29-23 over the Dallas Cowboys. For the final time, let's head to Nick Rice.
Thanks, Danny. So this has been an incredible journey. Ever since I was a young kid, like 9 years old, I'd have a microphone in my hand and would be commentating games. Like the first game I remember is Packers Chargers way back in 2006, I want to say, where I just would love to narrate the game or do play-by-play of the game. And my career has grown from commentating high school games to Division I games all throughout the country. And personally, it's been a blast doing that. But one of the highlights of my life throughout my 20s, I'm going to turn 30 next week, has been the Dream Season Football League. And this series began way long ago, I want to say 2009, after watching some guy named Jordan Slatham, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, create a Tecmo Greatest Team Season. And that was just so much fun. I mean, it was incredible to watch all those great teams together with the highlights. And it motivated me to do a very similar thing called the DSFL 1 Greatest Team Season on Madden 10 back in 2010. I did a Greatest Team Season that I didn't finish, but immediately restarted with more in-depth rosters. And it was capped off by a interception by Skip Thomas of Jim McMahon to cap off that great game where the 76 Raiders won the Dream Bowl. And that was just the beginning of 15 years of doing this. I mean, just awesome stuff. And Jason Lundgren, I want to say, was the guy that kind of encouraged me, pushed me to do it. And then just out of nowhere, like Phil Nunziata came in, became a big part of it, and Noel Booker and Jason Hirsch and Lucas Fasante, and I'm forgetting a whole bunch of guys, but they all kind of were thrilled to have a part of it, and it just really took off and everything. And then I disappeared, and people grew up and got their own lives, and this didn't quite become the big thing that it was in the very beginning. Part of it is because I do think a lot of other people have great content on YouTube, so it's hard to stand out. But this has been a very unique, niche type of thing. And there have been, Hank Cinnamon joined later and Danny DeBock joined later and stuff like that. And there's always been kind of fans who were saying that, oh man, like this was really fun. I remember watching way back in the day, and I'm glad you're still doing it. So transition 15 years later, and this series comes to a close. A series that took 2 years to develop, by the way. Researching statistics, putting together stuff on a website that I couldn't finish. The website crashed, unfortunately. Just wouldn't kind of allow me to do everything I wanted to do. But it worked out because the website was incredibly exhaustive. But nonetheless, the research for all these players, building the rosters, making sure it's the most accurate rosters you can put together for an all-time franchise, and then all the full games, the highlight packages, and the injury reports, and the extra point shows, and all the other fun stuff I did throughout the year for you guys. And in the end, the motivation which kept me going throughout this exhaustive process was not the money or the fame or anything like that. I know I sound corny saying it, but it's to develop as a broadcaster and then to know you guys are entertained and you guys are enjoying it. And that's all that mattered to me. Because I didn't really get a whole lot, physically out of this. It was just knowing that you guys, were the people that I cared about the most. And it really motivated me to keep going. Every time I, get comments like, man, like this is so cool. Love doing it. Love watching and all that stuff. So I'm happy stepping away. This is like my baby, but I'm happy stepping away. And it's at a good time. I've really grown in my faith, and I feel as though this is a good opportunity for me to just kind of focus more on life, more than just sports and more than football. I do aspire to be, a Division I broadcaster for football and basketball, but what I also aspire is to just be a man of the Lord Jesus Christ and to follow him and to help encourage other people to build their faith as much as they build their lives in general. This world is so much more than what you can accomplish in this world. So I do encourage people all the time to focus on not just sports, but also that as well. So for folks who are still around listening to this, I want to encourage you. And, I will be doing more content with NBA 2K stuff and Madden stuff and college football stuff too. So there's going to be stuff going forward on this channel. I already have queued up and ready for you guys to watch. But in the meantime, I really, really am appreciative of you guys, you people who have just been huge fans and have watched this thing throughout and have, been a part of my journey through life. I'm grateful for you people, Charger to 95 fans, and, I just hope for and wish for nothing for the best and pray for nothing for the best for all you guys who are all special to me, helping me grow. I wouldn't have done this nowhere near 8 seasons if it wasn't for you guys encouraging me along the way. Seriously, those comments and the interactions I've had with you guys are the reason why I did this for as long as I did, and all the rewarding moments throughout these seasons that I've gotten from it is thanks to you guys. So ironically, what this series throughout 15 years has taught me is that this world is about more than just what you can accomplish and what you can do. There is another world after this, and it puts things into perspective about what is important in life. And all the encouragement I got throughout the years from you guys and the excitement to watch this stuff years and years down the line, doing this over again, is the highlight for me, and I'm grateful that you guys were there throughout this whole thing. So that'll do it. Thank you so much. God bless all of you. And I pray for a bright future for you guys. And I'm thankful that you were a part of it. This is Charger Dude 95. Have a great day.